Hello everybody, welcome to the Career Happiness Mentor page. My name is Soma Ghosh and I am the founder of the Career Happiness Mentor. Today I am doing a video. It's going to be, I'm hoping, a 30-minute video because I'm going to be covering a lot around why mental well-being is an important part of career happiness. And I have a particular format. I'm going to be talking about why it's so important. I'm going to be talking about what's happening in the world that relates to this because I keep on seeing a lot from my clients. They're coming to me with additional issues around mental well-being and health. And I really wanted to talk about this, especially because, well, next month is going to be mental health. There's going to be Mental Health Awareness Week. And I feel like there is so much going on around mental health. And the clients that come to me have particular patterns that come up. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to talk about why it's important, why it's happening in relation to what's going on in the world, key patterns I see, some tips, and how I can help support you as a qualified careers counsellor and careers advisor. So, one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this, and thankfully the rain has stopped, because it was really, really raining where I am in northwest London. One of the reasons why I really, really wanted to speak about this today is because I see this myriad effect of the fact that when I was at work, I was unhappy, I was going through workplace bullying, I was going through all the things I was going through. My mental health was deeply, deeply affected. And I've already shared my story around mental health in Happy Feel magazine, which I will put a link to if you haven't already read this, if you're new to this page, so that you can find out more. But I'm seeing the same things come up with my clients: anxiety, feeling stressed, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like they can't manage everything. If they're a mum, feeling as though they have little time, all these same things that keep on coming up. And in general, women are more likely than men to be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And this is important to think about because anxiety, stress, depression, all these things are like going up. It's one of those things where I think more and more we're seeing patterns of mental well-being, especially linked to career happiness and what I help my clients with, really, really, manifesting and having a direct impact on what is happening. So that is one of the main reasons I really, really wanted to talk about this, but also not just because mental health is something that is primarily important to me as an individual, someone who has anxiety, someone who's been through depression, but because it's just something that is not going away. And my clients, I would say at least 85 to 90% of them come to me with some sort of issue around mental health and well-being. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to share some relevant stuff of what's happening in the world in relation to this. So I've got some stats. I'm not going to read all of the stats, but some of the main ones that I think are going to be really, really interesting. So for example, Mind. I used to actually work for Mind for a short period of time as a volunteer when I was a student, well actually after I was a student, when I'd just done my degree. And some of the things I want to share link in with the fact that burnout and overwhelm are primarily causing people to not look after their mental health and well-being. So I was recently interviewed by a journalist. That piece is going to be coming out in the next month or so. And she asked me whether I think burnout is just a millennial issue or it's a wider issue. And personally for me, I feel that burnout is linked to mental health and well-being. It's linked to everything that we do, and it's ultimately linked to your lack of career unhappiness, especially if you're not looking after your health, especially if you don't enjoy what you do, you're only doing it for money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So for me, it's important to share these stats so that you have an understanding that this is an issue, and that when I'm working with my clients, I do try to holistically, as someone who has studied psychology, and I actually did a module around mental health as part of my psychology degree. It was an optional module. And my professor, I remember her being really, really amazing. She sat down with us and she actually really, really taught us so much around mental health. And it was one of the things that made me more empathetic to understanding and really, really knowing around all the mental health disorders. I will try and do a video or an article to discuss this a bit more. The whole point of this video is for me, as someone as a careers advisor who comes from a bit of a different background, to share with you some of my knowledge and some of my experience. I've worked with a lot of clients who, to be honest with you, do have some underlying symptoms. They haven't been diagnosed with a mental health illness, but they have some symptoms. And what I try to do is, if I feel that there is something really serious going on, I will refer them to a counsellor. I'll advise them to go and see their GP. And I think it's also important to remember that I work in a really holistic way. So it's about helping you to get out of that situation of your career unhappiness. So some of the stats that I found, one of them was that 5.9% in 100 suffer from anxiety disorder. 3.3% in 100 are suffering from depression. 0.6 of these people are suffering from panic disorder. So when I'm talking about mental health, I'm not just necessarily talking about anxiety and depression here. I'm talking about people who may have OCD, or may have phobias, or may have post-traumatic stress. Sometimes if something has happened to a client of mine in childhood, this can have an effect on them coming to work and fully showing up. So there is a lot of stuff that comes with this, and we're at the moment kind of living in this stress epidemic where at least 85% of UK adults are experiencing some form of stress. I actually did a post about this on LinkedIn. Some of the most common causes of stress include money, work, and health. And I really want to emphasize on the fact that those issues, money and health, apart from the work, because I obviously talk about the work when I'm sitting down with a client, some of the main things that stop people from going for their ultimate version of career happiness. And I can't help but think that, without this stress that we feel, this pressure that we feel, the mental well-being that we would actually prioritize isn't there. So it's very, very important, and there is a link. I really, really believe that when I was at work, when I was going through all the stuff I was going through, yes, I was stressed. And ultimately, because I wasn't dealing with that stress, that manifested into me having basically panic attacks and anxiety and depression. And I really want to emphasize this point because so many people I talk to don't manage the symptoms. And if you don't manage the symptoms, it manifests into mental health problems. So I really, really want you to think about that. And according to statistics, 1 in 6.8 people experience mental health problems in the workplace. So what that means is 14.7% of people, which, if we look at the stats, the percentage isn't that high, but there are a lot of people, and I have a lot of clients who, not all of them suffer from these symptoms, but I'm seeing more and more, maybe also due to Brexit. I've had a couple of conversations with women who are really, really worried about Brexit, and they feel as though it's going to impact on the future of their work, the future of their development. They don't know what's going to happen. And so that's going to cause, a knock-on effect in terms of stress. And 12.7% of sickness or absence is due to a mental health condition or symptoms. So I remember when I was at work and I was suffering from anxiety, I was depressed, I had quite a few sick days which were primarily around mental health, right? I had a lot of sick days which were around my physical health. My physical health was not good. I'm not going to talk about physical health in this video because I want to put across the fact that physical health, I'm going to do a podcast and hopefully write an article once I've spoken to an expert. Physical health also is created by career unhappiness. But I'm focusing primarily here around mental health, mental well-being. But there is a link. There is a link between both of these things, because if you're not looking after your physical health, if you're not sleeping properly or you're not doing certain things, this will then result in you not looking after your own mental well-being and, not making time for yourself. So there is a knock-on effect. So some of the other things I really, really wanted to talk about today are the patterns that I see with the women I work with. I have already mentioned some of these, but some of the main patterns that I see are a lack of sleep, I also see people getting ill physically and mentally, which is already something I've spoken about. I see people worrying about stability in terms of money, suffering from anxiety and depression. So I'm going to go a little bit more deeper into that, into all of these things that I've just mentioned in this video. So with sleep, sleep is a primary function that we all need to have a lot of, at least 7 to 8 hours per night. As you get older, those number of hours will decrease due to whatever reasons, because we don't need as much sleep. When you're a baby, you need lots and lots of sleep because your body needs to restore itself so that you can grow and do all the things you need to. But when you're an adult and you're not getting that 7 to 8 hours sleep, if you're going to work with only 5 hours of sleep or 4 hours of sleep, or even less than that for some people who are really stressed and in burnout mode, you're not going to be able to concentrate properly. You're not going to be able to do the things that you need to. You're going to be grouchy. It has a really, really serious effect on your health. Things like an increase of diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, all of those things. And the pattern that I hear a lot from my clients, and I'm not factoring in mums into this because I do know that parents, you guys don't have much sleep for, at least I would say, in perhaps the first 5 years of your child growing up, because you're a parent and your kids are going to get up. I'm talking about in general for people who are not sleeping well enough to function properly, and this is going to have an effect on anxiety. It's going to make you depressed, all sorts of things. And one of the reasons why I've been really educating myself around this is because I've been listening to lots of podcasts and doing reading on sleep and its importance. I listened to an amazing podcast which I will actually put in the comments below. This guy that they spoke to was a neuroscientist, and he specializes in helping people with sleep. And he deals with insomnia. And a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions around insomnia. They think that insomnia is like, oh, I just can't sleep at night. I just can't sleep. It is so much more deeper than that. It is a lot to do with the fact that you can't nod off to sleep. You may end up watching a TV program or reading a book in the middle of the night when you should be sleeping. And it's about you probably repeating patterns of worry or thought which aren't necessary. So lack of sleep is the number one thing that I see with a lot of my clients who are really, really worried and, are not looking after their mental well-being or physical health. The second one is getting ill a lot. So if, I already mentioned about the percentage of people who take sick leave, it could be that maybe they're starting to suffer from symptoms like RSI, or they're having a lot of headaches. Again, that links back to the lack of sleep. Or perhaps they are physically, getting more colds or getting more flu, things like that. So generally, because they're not looking after their health, they're not eating properly, it's a knock-on effect. These are the patterns that I see with my clients. And it's very, very important that if you're going through any of these things, when I share more of the tips of how I can help, that you think about what you could do to stop and to be kind to yourself and give yourself that sort of better well-being. But I'll talk about that in a minute. And the last pattern that I see time and time again is worrying about stability in terms of money, and this almost manifesting into anxiety and depression. So, as I said before, Brexit is one of the things that are on people's minds a lot. A lot of people, when they get pregnant, worry about the stability of their job and if they're going to go back to it. And there's a woman I follow on Twitter who does a lot of campaigning around women who have to sign NDAs after they get pregnant. And I'll put some more information in the link. But there is a lot of worry around that with the women I speak to. There's also worry about stability in terms of if the industry is lacking in money. The finance industry has a lot of redundancies. They let a lot of people go. Maybe you may have a pay decrease rather than an increase. All those things. So people really, really worry about all of these things, and that can manifest into you then having problems in terms of you not understanding what's going to happen next, and not thinking about the fact that, where's the money going to come for my mortgage? Where's the money going to come to pay off my debts? And so people then really, really start to go through this cycle of anxiety. You may go through depression because perhaps whilst all this is happening, you're going through divorce, you know. I'm giving these scenarios because a lot of the women I speak to, they have a lot of ongoing issues. And these are the patterns that I keep on seeing where people are not looking after their mental well-being. And I'm not going to talk so much about, you know, what that is, but what I will say is a good mental mindset is you making sure that you are going for walks, that you're spending time with your friends and family, that you are actually doing things which are recreational, like perhaps if you play sport, if you go to a club, those sorts of things. If you're only doing just work stuff or just family stuff and nothing to do with just you, then your mental health and well-being is going to suffer. It really, really is going to suffer. And then if that's manifested from you being unhappy at work, it's just gonna clash, and it's going to be so overwhelming for you. So those are the patterns that I see. Now I'm going to share some of the tips, and I can see someone's watching, so please say hi, whoever you are. Sometimes the comments don't work, which are really, really annoying. So if I don't see your comments now, I will get back to your comments afterwards. And if you catch this on a replay, please ask me any questions that may come up when you watch this. So the tips that I want to really, really share to help with good mental well-being and what you can be doing so that mental health isn't the main emphasis around your career unhappiness. The first thing is getting support. So a lot of people, when I'm working with them, oh, hi Deepa, a lot of people when I'm working with them, they feel as though sometimes their GP isn't approachable, and I can completely understand that. But if you have a good GP that you can trust, that you can rely on, that you think is somebody that is going to be able to help, please go and speak to them. Have a conversation with them and, you know, say to them, especially if you're worried about if you're a danger to yourself and other people, that, you know, you have a counsellor referral. If you feel as though your symptoms are not getting better and you can't get a GP appointment, I know this is an ongoing problem with a lot of people because of the NHS and lots of things that are going on right now. I would advise you to look into and research getting a counsellor. I really help my clients understand and get an emphasis around how they can get more holistic care. Sometimes that means maybe they need to consult a nutritionist or a dietitian. There is a wider issue here that I think a lot of people do not realize, and I think it all links back to your mental health. So that's the first thing, talking to someone, talking to a professional counselor, perhaps with CBT or counsellor training. So that could be a counselling psychologist, psychiatrist, or CBT therapist. I'm not going to go really into all those three because it depends on what your needs are. Number two is, if you feel that you are depressed, don't ignore it. A lot of people, when they are depressed or they're feeling really low, depression and feeling low is different. When you're depressed, you're not enjoying your everyday life. You don't want to go out and meet people. You don't want to read a book. You don't want to do anything, right? And to the point where you may stay in bed for long periods of time, or you're going to be up at all night not doing anything and feeling really low about yourself. So do not ignore it. Make sure that you talk to someone if you can't talk to a counsellor, someone who's not going to judge you. I think a lot of people, when they're suffering from anxiety and depression, and this has happened to myself, when you openly share your truth and you're saying, this is how I'm feeling today, some people who've never experienced that before will find it quite difficult to understand why you're depressed. If you've got a lot of good things in your life, if you've got children, if you've got a partner, if you've got a good job, they may judge you. And that judgment can really help, make you feel as though, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, and you end up going in a repeated cycle. So make sure that whoever you talk to as a friend, they understand that sometimes, you know, you're going to get this way. And the other thing I want to share around anxiety and depression is people who are depressed and suffer from anxiety, there is a lot of anger inside of them. And that manifests through frustration, sometimes shouting, sometimes saying things in the heat of the moment that they don't mean. And that doesn't mean that they don't love you as an individual. You have to be really compassionate, you know, as a friend to someone who has anxiety and depression. I did a post about this on Instagram because I think a lot of people, when they say things like, oh, cheer up, oh, what have you got to be depressed about, oh, feel better, it doesn't work. So this is where it's very important that you seek out people who are going to make you feel better and not worse, is number two. Number three is, as I mentioned, the interview that will be coming out in a few weeks' time around burnout. Burnout is common, and feeling unhappy at work is common, and then that linking into not feeling good about your mental well-being. These things are all common. So I don't want you to feel like you should punish yourself for feeling, low or feeling down, or maybe not doing the things that you used to enjoy. Be self-compassionate to yourself as much as you can. It is difficult when people have anxiety and depression to be self-compassionate. But what I mean by that is, for example, if you manage to wake up in the morning and then you've made yourself breakfast before you've gone to work, that is a win. If you have managed to take a shower that morning, that is a win, right? So really, really think about the things where you can be self-compassionate in that way. I'm not talking about necessarily saying that, oh, I'm good enough, because that takes a lot of work, and therapy can really, really help with that. Thanks for the like, whoever that was. That's really, really lovely of you. So that's tip number 3. Now, what I'm going to talk about before I talk about how I can support you is I'm just going to actually have some water. I think that's Tula. Oh, hi, Tula. Hope you're well. Thank you for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. So, now I'm going to talk a little bit about how I can support you as the career happiness mentor and a qualified careers counsellor. So the first thing is that I work in a very bespoke way. So one of the reasons I felt so called to talk about this topic is because it's a holistic approach that I have as a careers counsellor. I will speak to you about your career, about your personal life, about other additional things, and it's in a confidential, impartial, non-judgmental way. And it is bespoke to you. I do have a 12-week mentoring program, but I have a lot of clients who want to work for short periods of time, sometimes 4 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks, sometimes they just want to have a couple of sessions around something specific. And if that is linked to them being really unhappy at work and not knowing what to do, not knowing whether to quit their job, not knowing about an exit strategy, all of those things, then I can tailor that to you. And that is why I offer a 15-minute call where we discuss and you can ask me any questions. So it is very bespoke. Even the 12-week program is bespoke. But for me, I feel as though the reason why it needs to be bespoke is because every person is different. No person is the same. Like the two lovely people who are watching, you're very different people and you've got individual needs that need to be looked at. And I get my clients to fill in quite a thorough questionnaire because I want you to be able to share with me the things that are holding you back. But also because of the fact that I've got a psychology degree, I do look at things a little bit more in the psych spectrum. And with the counselling and experience I've had, I've helped a lot of young people who've been suffering from mental health problems, but also suffering from problems in general that they haven't been able to share with their teachers and anyone else. And I'm very good at helping support people in a way that makes them feel safe and comforted, because I've been through a lot and I know what it feels like. So number 1 is I can support you in a bespoke way. So if you're interested in applying for a 15-minute call, I'll put the link below. Number 2 is I will help you develop a strategy to get out of your situation. If you're feeling really, really alone right now and that nobody understands you and judged, and I hear this a lot, not just from the Asian women who work with me, but from everybody, they feel very misunderstood and they feel as though their dreams are either too big or too small to go for. And as a result, they end up staying in a job where they're really unhappy and that's affecting their mental health or their physical health. Or they can't think of a strategy where they're not earning consistent income. And all of those things are really, really important. So it's about helping you build a strategy that's going to help you get out of your current situation so that you're going to be not only career happy, but you're going to be in a state where you are going to be going after what you actually want. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's not. There's going to have to be some strategy there, some accountability there, but we will do it together because I'm there to hold your hand. Number 3 is my own experience. So many of you may not know about my workplace bullying story, may not know about all the things that have happened to me, but through my own experience and the things that I've been through, I can support you in a way where I am very compassionate about all of the bad stuff that might have gone in your career or happened in your career without judging you, because I've been through a lot of stuff at work. But also because I've worked with many, many clients who have really been able to regain their confidence. I've worked with clients who have been promoted, who never thought they were going to get promoted. I've worked with clients where they felt as though their situation was so bad they were going to have to leave their job and move the country. So my experience and the skills and the knowledge that I have all equate to me being able to support you in a way that fits you, because I've gone through it and I've been able to create a business by working with amazing mentors and coaches. And it didn't happen overnight. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted, but I did it anyway, despite the fact that I had a lot of criticism from a lot of people. And I want to be that person who is going to hold that lamp out or that light out to you and say, you can do it too. So my own experience will really, really be twofold in that. The fourth reason and the fourth thing in way I can basically support you is just being a supportive person who is not only going to hold your hand through the process, but do it in a holistic way. So my zone of genius is career counselling, right? That's what I'm really, really good at. I'm good at identifying some of the psychological things that might be holding you back. But I'm not a counsellor. So if I know that there is something really not right there, I will refer you to counsellors. I will tell you what you need to do in order to contact one privately if you need to, because sometimes it can take weeks, sometimes months for people to get a counsellor through their GP. I will also advise you if there are basically any other needs that are not being met elsewhere. I'll basically give you an approach that is holistic and bespoke to you. So I hope that makes sense. But I really, really hope that this Facebook Live has helped, because to be honest with you, I have been wanting to speak about this for a while. I will be discussing more things around physical health, around stress, around burnout a lot later. There's going to be a lot more blog posts coming from me in relation to a better working life and what you need to be doing. But your mental well-being is really important, because if you're not looking after yourself mentally, then how are you going to be the most efficient that you need to be at work, and how can you be career happy? And if you really are in a sucky job or a sucky career right now, you don't have to be there. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Money is important and we need it to pay the bills. We do. I had a mum growing up who, lost my dad when she was really young. And a lot of people know this. And the reason I'm sharing this is because my mum had a career that she loved. She had a job that she loved. And that, I know, was the thing that drove her, and us, her children, drove her to keep on going. And it's very important for anyone who is a single parent or a lone parent who's watching this today, that you understand that there is a possibility for you to not only have more, but be worthy of more, because everybody is told that they can't do something at one point or another in their life by people who want to bring them down. And my job is to help inspire and motivate you to understand that you can do it, right? I am also very honest and realistic with my clients, and that's why I offer the 15-minute call. If it's not a good fit for you, I will say, and vice versa, if it's not a good fit for you either in that way, if you feel that, it's not going to work for you, that's fine. But I will say one thing before I go and I round up this video, that the only way to really, really move forward and get your career happiness is to be patient, is to be resilient, consistent, and keep showing up. And that's what I've done with my business, and I've been able to keep on doing that. And yes, I can be here to support you create your dreams, but there's also a lot of action required from you. So if you're too scared to do the work, I'm here to be your biggest supporter. But also you need to be accountable for the fact that there is going to be work involved. You will need to roll up your sleeves and do some hard work. But if you really, really want a new job, you want a new career, you want to start a business, you want a portfolio career, I have an amazing episode coming up with somebody where we spoke about portfolio careers, and it's something I'm very passionate about sharing more about to help mums and women. But I will say that you can do it. You can really, really do it. So I really hope this video has helped, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I will be posting that very, very soon. It will be in another 2 weeks' time. But for anyone who watches this on the replay, I'm wishing you a wonderful Easter. If anybody has any questions, they want to ask me anything, please do so. Take care for now. Bye.